Hey everybody, Brian Goulet here of gouletpens.com, and it is episode number 235 of Goulet Q&A. I'm back in the saddle here after a little while being on the road, taking time off for Thanksgiving, and it's good to be back here. I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty tired. I'm pretty sleep deprived. Coming up in New York, I came home and our dishwasher's broken, our washing machine's broken. We got a lot going on with our kids. We have our choir concert this weekend. Lots of stuff going on just internally within our family and stuff like that. So we're planning for our annual offsite for Goulet Pens. So I'm pulling all these numbers and pulling all these long hours and stuff like that. So if I start to get a little bit loopy at the end of this one, you'll know why. It's because I'm reaching that point where I'm like, oh yeah, the adrenaline is kicking in. Adrenaline and caffeine is fueling the Q&A today, but that's okay because I wanted to be here for you all because I love doing Q&A. I got to do a cool one last week with Kara Benz, so that was eventful. It was very interesting traveling all the way up there, bringing all my camera gear, and then shooting it and having a live element to it and all that. It was really cool. Andy was great at cutting it together, helped me edit that together. It was dramatic trying to, because I was still up in New York when we published that. So I had to get it to her and try to get it uploaded and sharing 40 gigs of video footage. I was throttled with Wi-Fi at the hotel. So even I tried to upload it overnight and it wouldn't upload in time. So then I had to go to the Lamy store and leave my computer there while I was going to other parts of the city. Oh, it was just so exciting. It's just the big city. And so I came back with New York swag and got this sweet New York mug, super touristy, but I don't really care because I had a great time. So I was up there visiting the folks at Lamy, Universal Luxury Brands, so that's the Lamy distributor in the US. So they opened a flagship store in Soho, and I got to go there, see the event that then lots of the Lamy Germany High Brass was there, and got to meet them and kind of do the official opening, and then got to do a meetup with Kara Benz, which was awesome, and after that we shot that Q&A. So that was pretty cool. Also, just got this cool new pen that I wanted to show you all here. This I didn't bring back physically from the store, but it arrived today in the mail, and I realized that I had this thing, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. So I just wanted to show it off a little bit. It's a little bit big. It's not really a pocket pen, but I do like the style of it. It's one of those stand-up things you have in a, usually we'd have this in a physical retail store. If I can show you the whole thing. It's got a base to it, and so it kind of just stands up. And maybe I'll just kind of let it park here for the rest of the Q&A. There you go. So, super cool. I was finally able to convince them to give me one. Maybe they just felt guilty because I traveled all the way up there and had to deal with all these technical dramas and stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun. It was cool. They made cookies of my face and Kara's face. If you followed me on Instagram, you can actually go back and check brian.goulet on Instagram. That's my handle. You can check. I did a whole story highlight. You can click on my profile and see the highlight if you want to get a recap of how the trip was for me. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot going on. Regarding that, I did do another interview while I was there. I interviewed two very kind and lovely ladies from Lamy. One is Isabel, and she is on their marketing team there in Germany. Another one was Christina. She runs the Lamy flagship store in Heidelberg. So they both sat down with me and did an interview that we're going to publish in a couple of weeks here, which is going to be pretty cool. They talk about why they're doing the flagship store and what they hope to gain, what challenges they had, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be really cool. But anyway, it's really cool. If you're ever in New York, you should definitely check by the store in Soho because it's a pretty cool space. And basically they built it so that people could come in and experience Lamy and get to hang out, and really kind of built it for the pen community and to help the brand. So it's pretty rad. So back to Virginia, back in my space with my team, hanging out, doing lots of stuff. We're in the full swing of the holiday mode right here. Basically, right when kind of Black Friday hits after Thanksgiving, it's all systems go here. And we've been launching a lot of exclusives and a lot of things, a lot of exciting stuff going on at Goulet. So I have a lot of products to talk about right now. I'll get to that in just a second, but first thing that we had this week, we did 5 days of Goulet giveaway, which it's basically too late to enter at this point, but hopefully you got to experience that a little bit. We basically ran a contest on each of our social platforms each day this week. So it's something kind of new that we haven't really done before that we're trying out, and response has been pretty good so far, so that's pretty cool. Also, we posted a TWSBI Worth It video comparing the Go, the Eco, and the 580. And it was we're trying to do more excuse me, not experimentation videos. We are experimenting a little bit, but trying to do more comparison videos because that's something we've been getting asked about a long time. So we're experimenting with that. We did one a while ago on Rodden pens, and now we did one on TWSBI, and so we're kind of figuring like, should we stick within a brand? Should we stick across brands? How much should we extend the price range? Should we stick all with affordable, or, you know, so we're trying different things, but I appreciate the feedback on those. So we are still running some sales right now. So we did our Black Friday, Cyber Weekend kind of stuff, and I have actually a Q&A question about all of that, which I'll get into later. But some of the deals that we still have going on right now that I wanted to point out to you, if you happen to be watching this Q&A within a somewhat timely manner through the holidays of 2018 here. Any Diplomat, Conklin, Monteverde, Stipula, Peniter, Online Natuno pen comes with a free bottle of 90 ml Monteverde ink for the remainder of the year. We have some sales on Diplomat Arrows. We have some sales on Peniter La Grande Bellezza. We have sales on Stipula Etruria Ebonites and Passaportos, Conklin Nozacs, Stipula Toccoferro Blue, Lamy Vibrant Pink ink, select Colorverse inks, Lamy Safari All Black is a lower price, Monteverde Monza in clear, and then Nemesine Singularities are on closeout. And then we have lots of other stuff on our sales page. You can kind of check out what's going on there. Some of that we did through Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we stocked up like crazy, and we are kind of continuing them on until they go out. So that's some deals that you can get right now. And then we had some other interesting things come in, and I have a huge backlog just because it's been like 3 weeks since I've shot a normal Q&A. So we had the Retro 51 Space Pens. I selfishly snagged up a set for myself, which has one of all three pens. So it's Apollo, Mercury, and Gemini. And now you understand why I wanted to have this rocket in the back here, because I maybe got wind that they were going to do a space-themed thing. And I knew that it was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing next year, and so I had just kind of Apollo on my radar and stuff like that. So I picked up the Saturn V rocket, which is, by the way, a really cool Lego set to build if you're into Lego at all. So these pens came and went, and there are going to be more. They didn't get the full shipment up front, but I can say we're going to get some more. I think we're getting some more sets, very few, towards the end of this month, and then individual pens maybe in January, but then that's gonna be it. So anywhere that you can get them, pick them up, because even though they made 1,958 of each of the pens, they're just like flying. So just want to give you a heads up about that. We launched 2 new winter premieres, so I don't have them physically to show you here, but you can check them out on our website. They're pretty cool. We have a new Herbert pen. So this is a collaboration with Chet Herbert of the Herbert Pen Company. I'm literally, as I'm shooting this video, waiting for him to deliver the pens. So I've seen it, he took it back, and then he's bringing me the full shipment of them. So I don't have anything to show you right now, but by the time you see this video, we should have launched these pens. So you can check them out. Super thrilled with these. We'll have a video and everything out on those, but it's very cool. It's his proprietary ribbon material that he made up. It's clear demo ribbon that he dyed with Noodler's Liberty's Elysium, so we called it the Liberty pen, and the model is called the Monument, which is his monument model anyway, but he's named it after different parts of Richmond, which is where we're from, so he's like 15 minutes from our office. So it's just so cool having like a local collaboration with an up-and-coming pen maker like that. We are, I think, his largest collaboration that he's ever done, and we've been working on it for quite some time. I think we first started talking about working together June of 2017, so it's been a year and a half in the making, but super pumped about that. TWSBI Eco Green, Transparent Green, and Blossom Red. So these are nice. The Blossom Red is really like almost like a pink, so just kind of be aware of that. If you like that, then you'll enjoy it, but if you wanted like a deep, rich red, understand that it's more of a pink. So these have been actually selling pretty well, and that's pretty cool. I love the Eco. It's one of my favorite pens. So that's super awesome. You can check those out. What else have I got? So much more. Oh my gosh, I gotta really go fast here. The Peniter Mystery Filler came in. It's pretty cool. Drew and I talked about that in Right Now on Wednesday. You can see me uncomfortably try to take it apart in front of Drew. The Peniter Honeycomb Rose Gold. So it's just the same honeycomb that we've had with rose gold trim. Looks really nice. The Quaco All Sport in Deep Red and the Classic Sport in Navy. We have the Namiki, a couple of the Namiki Yukari Fuji and Meiji Maru. This is the 100th anniversary of Pilot, the Yukari pens to celebrate that. We have a couple left. and we will not be getting more. The Aurora Optima Oliva, have a couple of those. Visconti Van Gogh gift sets. So that's a couple new colors that we have in the gift sets, and I think they'll be available apart from the gift sets later on, maybe next month. Robert Oster has some new inks in their Get Set Go. Pretty vibrant colors. I really like these. Deep purple, red candy, hot pink, burned orange, crocodile green, dragon's night, and true blue. Unfortunately, I don't have them here to show you, but they are deep and vibrant colors. These aren't shimmer ones, but some of them have a little bit of sheen to them. But you know, I'm a big fan of the Robert Oster series, especially Blue Water Ice is kind of my go-to. Diplomat Magnum, we got restocked on some of those, and we have white, which is a new color. We didn't have that before. The Peniter has the Arco pen, which we've had for a little bit now, but it's been a while since I've seen you, so I haven't been able to talk about that. So it's similar to the La Grande Bellezza material piston filling pen, and it's got the same awesome quill nib on it, and it's an Arco material. It's sort of similar to like the Omas Arco. It's not exactly the same, but it's a Peniter's take on that Arco. We have some Lamy gift sets of mention, which we'll have really kind of for the holidays. It won't be an ongoing thing. We have a new Benu model, which is called the Hexagon, which is actually a really interesting looking pen. This one is the New Year's edition. They have a bunch of other colors of Hexagon, which we are interested in, and it's kind of on our radar. So we're kind of curious to see what the response is on these Hexagons so that we can, you know, consider more vibrant colors. So they have some other cool ones. So let us know what you think about those. And then we expanded Benu into broad nibs as well, because broad's coming back, baby. So we are expanding into that as we can. I know Rachel's happy about that. A couple new Lamy Studio colors, which came and went, and they will be coming back in January. So I just kind of wanted to show you the terracotta and olive. Nice looking colors, kind of like that matte finish to them. Very shorted on them from what I understand. They're having challenges. Lamy's grown a lot. I was actually able to talk to them about that in Germany, but trying to get the finish right. They want to make sure they don't, you know, it's very difficult to get the finish to be kind of seamless like this, especially where it mates up and not have it chip off. So it's rare that that happens, but that is not as easy to do as you might think. So they were planning to do a launch of these this fall. We ended up getting a very limited selection of them, which were gone in a matter of hours, and we didn't make a big thing about it. But there are going to be more in January, so I'm told. So be on the lookout for those. And then we have a Pilot Prera gift set, which has got a blue solid color Pilot Prera, which we're super pumped about, and that's a Goulet exclusive. Whew. Okay, that's what we've gotten in since we last talked. And then stuff that's coming, we have the Visconti Pentagon. We have Retro 51, the Christmas Popper, which is basically a Christmas explosion on a pen, which I think is going to be when this video launches on Friday, I hope, if we get them in time. Esterbrook has a new pen called the Phaeton 300, which echoes a pen that they used to have decades and decades ago. The Conklin Endura, which is a new pen that we have, which I have here somewhere, but it's a wood pens. Let me find these suckers because I am in love with these pens. You know, I used to make wood pens. That's originally how the Goulet Pen Company started, really. And so these pens really speak back to my heart. We have 3 different colors that are all natural hardwoods. So there you go. There's 2 of them. Boom. And it's got a nice lacquer finish on it. It's kind of like a matte lacquer, but I'm just amazed at how these turned out, especially for the price. It's got Goulet nibs on them. So I have an ebony, and then I've been so busy I need to look up the names of these woods actually. How terrible is that? I feel like a doofus. Okay, Conklin Endura. This is where I'm at, these days, folks. Sandalwood. That's the one I couldn't remember. So sandalwood, mahogany, and ebony. And I lost my ebony one. Oh, where is it at? Hang on. I'll show you. Ta-da. Different pen case, different place. I've been all over the country here recently. Boom. So we got ebony, which has rose gold trim and a black nib. Looks super, super nice. I'm a big fan of that one. And then mahogany, which is kind of like a little bit of a reddish tone to it. I picked up one that's particularly red with gold and a 2-tone nib, gold trim, and then the sandalwood, which is like a lighter more of a tan brown with chrome trim. Boom. How nice is that? Yovo nibs, $95. And I'm super pumped about that because I know how hard it is to make wood pens, and the fit and finish came together really nice. I love the minimalist kind of approach that we took towards this. This is a Goulet exclusive on those, and I'm pumped. All right, what else is on my list? We also have the Pilot Vanishing Point Stripes is going to be coming soon. So that's a all metal vanishing point with kind of like these flutes, rhodium plated flutes on them. It looks really, really nice. And then the Platinum is going to be coming out with some new 3776 Centuries, a couple new colors. And those are going to be coming probably next week. Whew. And more. There's more than that, but that's everything that I'm going to highlight today. And where are we at? Wow, 15 minutes in. How crazy is that? Okay, so let's get into the questions for this week, shall we? Start out with some pen and writing questions. This is from Jocklynn S on Facebook. What constitutes a beginner fountain pen versus an intermediate or advanced? And how do I know if I've successfully graduated to the next level? This is totally 100% subjective, Jocklynn, and there is really no strict rules around it, but I thought it was an interesting mental exercise I've never really thought about, because we do get asked about this a lot, like that next level pen, or hey, I'm a beginner, but hey, I've been using pens for a while. It's like, when are you not really a beginner anymore? I think it's kind of a fuzzy area of when you step from beginner to intermediate, and likewise. Often what I've heard before from people is more like beginner and advanced, not so much of an intermediate, but I thought about it and I was like, let me just try and put some boundaries around it. This is just purely my own conjecture, so if you agree with me, great. If not, it's totally up for debate. So I'll just kind of let you know what's at least on my mind as I was asked this question. So for me, beginners, it's really all about being kind of the exploratory phase, right? So this is your first 6 months, maybe 12 months, depending on how often you're into the pens and how deep you really dive in. So that's kind of the general time frame I would probably associate beginners with. Often you're just kind of looking to understand what fountain pens are. How do they work? What are the different parts? What are the different brands? What are the retailers? How do you get this information? Where do you kind of find what it is you need to know? You're spending a lot of time watching videos, reading blogs, browsing retail sites, kind of just wrapping your head around it all. You generally have more questions than answers, and you may not even know the questions that you need to answer. But things like price, reliability, simplicity, ease of use are often your motivators. And sticking with steel nib pens, usually in the sub $50 range, is probably where you're going to be living. Loading up on ink samples, you might have a couple of bottles, but you're really, again, just trying to get a taste for what's out there. That's really what beginner stuff is all about. Intermediate, I would say, is more of a refinement phase. So this is really maybe your first 6 to 12 months, depending on where you're at, into maybe 5 years of pen use, okay? Depending, obviously, again, on how deep you dive into it. You could certainly be in it 2 years and be more of an advanced, but intermediate, let's say you're kind of a casual user, maybe your first 5 years. This is when you start to get into a variety of nib sizes, maybe buying the same of pens that you like with different colors or different nibs. You start to get a taste for where your preferences are. So you start to get a preference for certain inks. You can start to tell the difference in how they perform. You can differentiate like how a pen writes in terms of its toothiness, how springy the nib feels, the flow of different nibs, and even among the same nib sizes and different materials and stuff like that. Different materials of the pens themselves, wood versus celluloid versus resin. And you start to have a preference for which type of feel, which type of grip, shape that you prefer, and these types of things. Maybe the diameter of the pen. You start to really understand and be able to discern that. Maybe I should call it the discernment phase rather than refinement. I don't know. I like both those words. You might do some breakdown and cleaning of your pen, swapping nibs, eyedropper conversions, some of these things where you're going beyond just what's in the instruction booklet in the pen, right? You start to understand some of the hacks for doing some of the more interesting things with pens. And you start to really understand different models, styles, functions of the pens, and start to develop a preference towards the one you like, discerning your palette, so to speak. And then as you get into the advanced phase, I'll call it the benevolence phase, 5-10 years plus of pen usage. This is really could look like a lot of different things because there's a lot of different avenues you could go down. As you get deeper and deeper into it, it starts to splinter off, and you get people that could be equally respected for, keeping very few pens, but really learning how to write with them well, or somebody who doesn't write a lot, but maybe gets deep into pen history or vintage or flex nibs or collecting, and really understanding, brand knowledge and stuff like that. So it could look like a lot of different things. Maybe you're starting to get into limited editions. Not only you have a taste for certain things, but you have a taste for certain themes or artists or countries that produce certain products. You might have some nib customization. Who are the ones that do all the nib work and what their specialty is. That Mark Bacchus is, in Atlanta, and that he, has the certain backlog and how much it costs to get a certain grind that you like to have done. And, he's really good at stubs and his CSI grind, whereas Mike Masuyama in LA is really known for really fine nibs. And, Richard Binder's done flex, Spencerian, and this type of stuff. So you start to understand these things. You have a deep knowledge of pen brands and their histories. Maybe not all of them, but certain ones, especially the ones you're interested in, you start to really understand kind of who founded them, where they came from, why they are the way they are. You have a deeper understanding of handwriting scripts, maybe. And you may have gone to some pen shows or meetups, and you're usually the one that people gather around because of maybe some of the rare or interesting collection that you have, or certain knowledge that you have that's special to a particular area within the pen world. Maybe you have a social media channel or two devoted to your pen passion, and you have a loyal followership there. And you still enjoy learning about pens, but it might not be just about the pens themselves, but it could be about the meaning, the people, the history behind them, and really enjoy the knowledge sharing aspect of the hobby as much as the pens themselves. So I think these three general categories could probably define maybe when you cross from one over into the other, and certainly there's a lot of bleed from one to the other. You could have very deep knowledge of some technical aspects of pens because maybe you're an engineer or something like that, but you could still be a newbie and not really understand different brands. So there's all different kinds of forms that this could take, but I thought it might be interesting just to kind of generally put out this category here. So these are completely made up. Maybe don't take them too seriously, but the important thing here is to not get too hung up on what the titles are, but really just that you enjoy the journey, whichever path that you're on, because there's so much richness to this fountain pen lifestyle, I'll call it, even beyond a hobby. Wherever you are, there's certainly enjoyable parts of it at any phase. In fact, some of the most enjoyable parts I had is when I was just a wide-eyed newbie into the pen world, and everything was exciting and new, and I had no idea what was going on. There was a certain innocence to that naivete, and of course now I have a richness with all that I know with pens, and I find it to be even more satisfying. Of course, it's also it gets challenging because the more I know I don't know. But I can say after 9+ years of being very deep into this, probably like double full time as a career, and spending a lot of time and a lot of my free time in the pen world, I've probably amassed what any like normal person who's not working in the pen world would amass in probably 50 to 60 years. So basically your entire life as a casual user, I've probably already amassed at this point. And I can say each day I'm discovering more and deeper things that I absolutely love. So you have a lifetime of stuff to really enjoy in the pen world. And I hope that you enjoy the journey, whatever phase you're in. All right, I got a lot of personal and business questions this week. I didn't intentionally set out to do that. Those are just the ones that kind of floated to the top. Maybe it's because I'm coming off of a business trip. I don't know, but we'll see. So Brandon G on Facebook asked me, what is the one accessory, traveling inkwells, cases, rests, etc., that has made your fountain pen experience more pleasurable over the years, and what are your top 5, if you have 5, lists that you would recommend to others? Okay, so this is not going to be like a super epic list, but it's just going to be the honest truth for me as a person who I have a lot of pens, and I'm a deep pen user, so I have a lot of pens inked at a time. I'm cleaning them a lot. The number one accessory that I absolutely love, and I've felt this way ever since the day that I discovered it, is the bulb syringe. So it's just like a little boogie sucker like you get in the hospital, when your kid's born, you got to suck those boogers out of there. I had a couple of those for my kids. But it's called like an ear bulb syringe or whatever. You can buy it at a drugstore. We carry them here. But it's such a handy tool when you're flushing out and cleaning a pen, especially a cartridge converter pen. I use this Benu, for example. So, you can take the approach of using the converter and just flushing it over and over and over and over like 30 times and getting it clean. Or you can take the converter off. You can take your bulb syringe, push it on the back, and you can just you got to fill it with water first. But you just flush it out, and it flushes clean water straight through it, and it's like 50 converters worth in here. And it's pretty awesome. So I'm a big fan, big fan of the bulb syringe, and I think that is the single most handy tool for the pen user, period. Unless you don't have any cartridge converter pens, which probably you're in the rarity in that situation, but I'm a big fan of that. Pen cases are pretty important. You mentioned cases. I have a variety of them. I have like a little Girologio case. I got a Peniter one over here. I have a variety of cases just because I'm in the business and I'm constantly kind of testing and reviewing them. I got an Aston Pen 20 pen case here. I have a Visconti 12 case over here. So I'm constantly shifting them around and getting a taste for how they all are. But in general, I always have some sort of case. I've got an Aston Slip that I've been carrying around for like 7 years, well worn, that I just love. And so I'm using a lot of different types of cases. So you don't have to have cases for your pens, but especially as you get into nicer ones, it might be nice just to have a little something to protect them. So that I'm a big fan of those, as kind of a general statement. Another little thing that falls under the radar a lot, but I am a huge fan of, is silicone grease. Okay, so it's oft little overlooked thing. You can use plumber's grease as long as it's 100% silicone and doesn't have any other additives or lithium or anything like that in it. Ours that we use here is food grade, so it's very, very safe. But it's 100% silicone, so it's not gonna cause any discoloration or anything like that on your pens. But what you can do is you can do eyedropper conversions. You can grease up the piston seals to make them smoother. You can grease up your converters. There's lots of good stuff you can do in terms of the maintenance. And so the long-term enjoyment of your pens, I find that having them properly tuned and maintained makes them a more enjoyable experience for me. Another couple things, this is going even deeper down into the rabbit hole, but this has just been my experience that I found. It's reflecting now 9 years back. A loop, so I'm a big fan of having a loop. So I'm the carton loops that we carry here. This is a 10X. I also have a 15 personally that I use sometimes. Just having a way to more closely inspect your nib and certain parts of your pen, I find it to be really enjoyable. Basically you can't do any nib tuning or work. It's very difficult to do without a loop. So me personally now, I've had some training with some nibmeisters, and I've experimented a lot more with doing that kind of stuff. And just at this stage in my pen life, that is something that I find enriches my pen experience a little bit, is if a pen's not writing quite as I feel that it should, being able to tune it and tweak it and personalize it and stuff like that is something I find very enjoyable. And then micro mesh. So this is another tool. I should have grabbed all these things ahead of time, but as I said, I'm busy and tired and a little frantic here, but what have I got? Where's my micro mesh? It's in here somewhere. Ta-da! Little micro mesh, just a little rectangle of it. So it's it almost feels like leather, but it's basically like a very, very, very fine sandpaper, for lack of a better term. But it's for nib smoothing, right? So it can really help. Obviously, Mylar paper and other things like that can get it even finer, but I find most nibs, most people find it to be pretty good, even just with a 12,000 grit micro mesh. So that can be really handy too. So all that stuff we sell, most of these things actually, except for the pen cases, are things that were not easy to find and are not generally available, but we wanted to carry because we found them so helpful around here. We were like, probably more people should know about these, and I think we have videos on every single one of these. Cool. Business. Let's talk business, shall we? Renee O on Facebook asked me what happened to the Pilot 100th anniversary mega expensive pen set that was sitting over here for a few Q&As. I was really more interested in the process used. I'm sure there were more than one interested party. So this is in the actual transacting of said expensive pen set. So this Pilot 100th anniversary set was a $48,000 pen set. Not exactly an everyday pen set, and definitely not something that I personally ever envisioned that I would ever even see in my hands, let alone be honored enough to be, as a retailer, partaking in selling such a really prestigious and one-of-a-kind set. Well, it was one of 25, technically, but it was an amazing piece of art. I got to unbox it with John Lane, and that was really just quite an experience for me, and I'm really thrilled to have gotten to be a part of that, honestly. But anyway, so that said, we do not have a lot of experience here selling pens that cost as much as basically my college tuition. So I can say right now that it is happily at its home with its new owner. So we did sell the set. It was a unique set even for us here, and it's by far the most expensive set we've ever sold. So we wanted to be really thoughtful about how we did it. And there are certain details of the transaction I'm obviously going to leave out, but sets like these are really rare. So it's not exactly the kind of thing like we normally would maybe announce something ahead of time, put it in our newsletter, do a video like we did, and then just like list it online for whoever signed up for the email notification and just kind of like let it sell. And then, you know, somebody puts in their credit card number through our website and we ship it out. Well, there are some people out there who are maybe not the most honest people in the world that might use a fraudulent credit card or, you know, something like that. And so we wanted to be very careful about that. So we did require a wire transfer for this one because the chance of credit card fraud was not something that I wanted to take a risk on a $48,000 pen set, which from what I understand is not super unusual when you get into pens at this price range to do that. So obviously it takes trust on the part of the individual, but they know where our address is and we're not going anywhere. So they felt trustworthy. And basically what it boiled down to is it was not super typical like we would normally have here, which is, you know, it gets listed on the website and kind of people just come and buy it at their leisure. This was more of a one-to-one relationship. So the way that it worked out for us with this set, and we knew it was going to be a little bit different, was we had it listed on the website, you know, and you have the email and back in stock thing. So before it's in stock, you can sign up for that, and you know, we can see who's on the email list, and we can contact you if we need to for any reason. So we had a combination of people that had reached out on social media. We had people that had called us or emailed us. We had people that signed up for that. So we basically, you know, kind of behind the scenes talked with our team and compiled all of that information for this set to see exactly who was interested, and then we contacted every single one of those people individually and said, hey, you've expressed interest in some fashion in this set. We want to know really how serious you are because we only have one set and we want to make sure that it, you know, it's taken care of and that we serve you well if you are the one who gets to buy it. But it is only one set and we're not getting any more, so we got to choose. So we needed to narrow down like who's actually serious, ready to buy. Yeah, that's happening under the terms of the wire transfer and all that kind of stuff. So we knew that hadn't happened. So we communicated all that and we ended up with several interested parties. And then the specifics of the individual that we chose is what I can't get into, but I will say we were thoughtful about who it was that we actually chose, and it was kind of on an individual basis. You know, the thing that I'm learning when we get into really expensive pens like this, you know, it is very relationship driven. You get into collectors who, you know, they want more of a one-to-one relationship. So this is something that we took that approach with this pen, and that's kind of how it went. So if it feels like it was a little bit different on this one, it's because that's what it was. So the thing that I will say though is that the set went to someone who was really thrilled to get it. They were a collector and they're enjoying it greatly. So you can know that set is, you know, it's not just somebody that like wanted to buy it and hold it and flip it and all that. They were actively using the pens and enjoying it very much. So that is that. Odette B on Facebook asked, what did you think about the success of your Facebook group, and does it bother you that people show off pens they've bought from other retailers? Super interesting. So Odette's talking about Goulet Nation, which is our private Facebook group, which is approaching 10,000 members now, which is just wild. That's a lot of you. It's a lot of people. Probably a lot of you watching this are active over there. And I'll be completely honest to say that I don't spend a whole lot of time over there, frankly, because y'all are just so active over there. Like, holy cow. The engagement is insane for this group, which is amazing to see. Like, I thought the group would do well and that it would be really engaged, but I just had no idea. I think what's happened, because it's a private group and because of just the way that Facebook's algorithm is right now, it's very conducive to you know, showing a lot of what's going on in that group, and it kind of curates stuff pretty well, and it's really kind of like a safe place to talk about these pens, and it cuts out a lot of the other noise of what's going on Facebook. So what ends up happening is a lot of our Goulet super fans, if you will, end up over there, the penablers, as you all have dubbed yourselves, which is really cool. And they even, you know, the Goulet Nation even came up with their own logo, which we put on some swag and served back out. So it's really cool. It's not just super fans, which of course is very flattering, and I'm thrilled to even be a part of that. But what's really cool and way more rewarding to me is seeing that it's really become a community. An example is we had one individual, for privacy's sake, I won't share who, but had one individual who lost their home in one of the recent California wildfires and lost all their pens, lost everything. We had members of the nation buy products on their behalf, ship them to their temporary location, and they end up getting 25 or 30 packages of pens, and and they shared it out on the nation, and just seeing everybody really care for them in the way of a pen community was just really touching, really touching, and something that I really don't feel like I can take any credit for that, because all we did was create the group. And I guess all the things we've done over the years, sure, but to see individuals really being a part of that community and engaging in such a touching and heartfelt and genuine way is just yeah, man, this is why I love the community so much. When I saw what the pen community was 9.5 years ago now, when I was first exposed to it, I was like, man, there's something special here. And now seeing even so many years later, just how that plays out today, super cool. So it's really neat. They created their own name, logo. They've done bingo cards and advent calendars and other swag and stuff like that. It's just really cool. So it's obviously our own private Facebook group. So we're going to have the Goulet super fans and all that, but we wanted to be more than that. And we didn't want to be moderating police over there. So we put some rules in place, and we've got all the terms and conditions and stuff right there on the group. And there's, things where people can flag each other. So if somebody makes a comment, we've had a couple of trolls, not a lot, but we've had a couple of trolls in there, and everybody kind of jumps in, and we get 30 reports of somebody's comment or whatever. And then we'll jump in and be like, nope, not cool. But that'll happen. So we understand that it's obviously some of the most hardcore Goulet fans that are in the group. But even the most hardcore fans are going to have things that we don't sell, and that's okay. It's okay to spread it around a little bit. I'm a firm believer that the rising tide raises all ships, and that whatever conversation and time and energy and passion that you're sharing in the pen community is going to help the entire pen community. And I'm all about that. So good stuff is going to be happening that other retailers come up with that, we at the Goulet Pens are going to see some of the, benefit from that. We're going to talk about things, shoot videos, create groups and stuff like that, and it's going to benefit others too, and it's all going to spread around because we're in a niche. It's a small community. We're all very passion driven, so that's going to happen, and that's a really good and healthy thing. So, there's a fine line though. It's I don't want it to turn into a, group where all it is talking about which retailer has the best deal and the yada, because that can get to a place where it becomes less about the community and who it is, and becomes more about the price or the whatever. And there's a saying that I've told my team that the problem of the race to the bottom is that you just might win. That's a Seth Godin quote. And what that means basically is when it becomes all about price, things like service, quality, branding, all that kind of stuff kind of doesn't have much room to live by. So we don't ever try to be the lowest price, and that's where groups and forums and things like that can go if that becomes kind of the main focus of it. And that's really not what the group was all about. It wasn't meant to be hey, I've got this thing self-promotional stuff. If somebody's making a product or they find a deal somewhere and they are trying to post it and kind of promote that, it's that's really not what the group's all about. It's really about sharing the passion for pens specifically, how you write with them, how you use them, your pen life, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously it's our own private group, so we're obviously would like to see more stuff shared about the things that we're doing, but it's cool, stuff crops up every now and then. We totally recognize that there are other pens that are interesting to talk about that we don't carry and we don't sell, and that's okay as long as it's done just kind of with the understanding of it's common courtesy. It would be if you go over to a friend's house and all you're doing is talking about how much better the other person's house is down the street. It's just not very courteous. When you're going to a party hosted by somebody, you don't talk about how great somebody else's stuff is. So you just try to be general like that. So as long as you use common sense, you're in pretty good shape. But what is interesting, is we like to hear real talk. Obviously, we listen to the community all over the place. we observe. But even within our own community, it's like if people are talking about other pens and comparing them and being real, and we have feedback, and honestly, we have, when we get feedback on a certain brand or certain thing that we launch, we encourage our own distributors and manufacturers to watch Goulet Nation and see the natural conversation that can go on there and be like, see, it's not just us telling you things. This is what it looks like in its raw form for when a customer is receiving a pen in such a situation, or when a pen is not performing as is expected. This is what it looks like. So it's really good that kind of stuff happens, honestly, and we encourage that. And for us, as being kind of grassroots plugged into the pen community, it can be really beneficial because as you're talking about, maybe something that we're carrying and there's something else that we don't carry that is better or that you like more, or maybe isn't better, but you just have a different opinion. It's something you compare. It expands our knowledge. It expands our interest and understanding of just kind of the community in general, and maybe where we compare and how we could be better, and maybe how we are already better, and that kind of thing. It's never a bad thing as long as it doesn't go to a place where it becomes just really like, trying to intentionally self-promote or push people away from the community and drive someone to a direct competitor of ours. But that really doesn't happen much. It's about that continuing that feedback loop that's really happened ever since the founding of our company, of engaging with the community, listening to the conversation, participating in the conversation, and then reacting and providing you with a better experience. That's really kind of what it all boils down to. And Goulet Nation is a great way to do that. So that's kind of where we're at, and just in a very general sense, how we feel about seeing other competitor stuff on there. Cool. All right, and Munis on Instagram says, it appears that there are many bridges to cross within the fountain pen industry, from lack of accessibility to convenience. I love fountain pens and just deal with the challenges, but in your opinion, what issues, whether expensive paper to marketing to manufacturing, do you think need to improve to keep from deterring less enthusiastic individuals and overcoming certain challenges? I do think that fountain pens inherently have some barriers to entry into the hobby. There's a learning curve for sure, and you got to kind of get over the hump. It's like you start out and you're like, what is a fountain pen? How does it even work? You don't even realize like it doesn't come with ink already in it, because just about any other pen you buy with ballpoint, rollerball, whatever, comes with a refill already in it. Fountain pen, you get it and you write with it, and if you didn't buy any ink or you don't have any ink, you can't write with it right away. So there's definitely a learning curve. Or like you use it and then after a while you're like, oh, my pen's not writing anymore. You have to refill it. You have to clean it. You have to do all these things to maintain it. And it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to deal with all this hassle. There's certainly a barrier there. Some of that, you're just not going to get past that. It's just the nature of the beast. Sort of like if you, want to get into like performance cars or something like that, they're going to be more maintenance than a Honda Accord. You know what I mean? So some of that just comes with the turf. If you want a nicer experience, you have to deal with a little bit more maintenance and these other types of things. It's really just like any other hobby or passion. But yes, I think that, you named certain things, the marketing, the paper, manufacturing, these types of things. I actually think one of the biggest barriers for fountain pens is just education and awareness about how they work, or even that they exist. That's the number one thing that we have tried to bridge here at Goulet Pens. I personally spent thousands of hours, especially in video form, trying to help and spend a lot of time and do the education component of it, because I feel like it's such a rewarding hobby if people can only understand that. So the interesting thing about just kind of where we're at now, looking back after 1,500 some videos, is we're actually dealing with how to curate all the content we've already put up, and we're still continuing to put out more. So how do we stay relevant, but also how do we serve that up to you or anyone else who might stumble upon us in any variety of manners? How do we serve that up in such a way that it's actually helpful? Because you might be on YouTube searching cats playing piano and a Q&A from 2014. Did I shoot Q&A in 2014? I think that's when I started. Was it that long ago? Let's say 2017, just because I'm sure that I was doing it then. If you watch episode number 114, then who knows what the heck? You could be your first introduction into that world. I'm talking deep about some random topic. I wish I knew what episode 114 included at this point since I called it out. But you might look into that and be like, well, this is kind of interesting, but I don't know anything about pen. Like half the things you're like, what is this guy even talking about? Why is he so fired up about pens? Whereas really what I would want to do is come up with a better introduction, sort of like, it's like if you walk into a party and it's a huge party and you don't know anybody there and you're trying to pick up and you're like, what's the conversation that's going on? Where am I even? I want to be at this party because it looks like a cool party, but I don't know anybody here. It seems like they're all friends with each other. So trying to have those introductions, which across the fountain pen world, that is the best thing that can happen to bring people into the pen community is a personal introduction, right? Just like any hobby, So if you know people and you're showing your pens and somebody's like, oh, fountain pens, that's kind of interesting. My father-in-law used to have a fountain pen, or, my mom had some pens and she gave them to me and I've never really known how to use them. Being like, that's so cool. Why don't you bring them? We'll show them. I'll show you how to clean them. We can get into it, And so like that personal introduction can gain a meaningful relationship, but also can help enrich somebody's life with fountain pen usage. So I think the education component, the community building component, the awareness component is probably the biggest lack of accessibility or whatever, convenience or whatever you might say. Obviously the fact that fountain pens are not at your corner drugstore anymore. They were at one time, especially in the US. You can still get, pens more available elsewhere in the world, but especially in the US, the availability of them is difficult. Of course, now with online and shopping and stuff like that, that's helped a lot with that. But even still, it's not like there's a pen store in every block and you can go try 50 pens and hold them. So there's certainly a barrier there. I think the big picture, the biggest challenge thinking long-term into the future is that kids are not necessarily being taught how to write with pens in school anymore, or maybe taught cursive and these types of things. As a society, we may move away from particularly writing with any pen at all. So that certainly is on my mind. Manufacturers are kind of in this interesting place where they're dealing with, kind of caught between the old world and the new, especially if they're a manufacturer that's been around for like a number of decades before the internet and all that kind of stuff. So they're in this interesting place where they have an old distribution model and a feedback, mechanism that's in place through salespeople and all that kind of stuff who've been in the industry for a while and have a lot to add value to, but they maybe have not translated into online and kind of understand the online community. There are some who are doing it better than others. There are others who are largely kind of ignorant to what's going on in the internet. So that's one interesting challenge for manufacturers. And I think the ones who get it and lean into that are going to end up growing a lot and really kind of being the ones who become more relevant as things transition in the next 10, 15 years. Things that we're trying to do here, number one is trying to educate the pen community, anyone interested in pen knowledge and use. And number two is working with distributors and manufacturers to help them innovate, stay relevant, grow, see things that are going on in the community. Those are the two biggest things that I'm seeing that we can do. Of course, I'm thinking about the handwriting in schools and all that. It's super noble to think like, I want to lobby to get more handwriting in schools. I think that's very, very noble, but I also think you need to stay in your lane and know where your strengths are. I know that lobbying for schools to get handwriting back in is not my highest and best use of skills at this point in my life. It's something I'm thinking about kind of on the fringes, and I might be interested maybe to connect with some others who are very passionate about that kind of thing. But I know that one of the best ways I can serve the community right now is doing those two things, putting out education and then working closer and closer with manufacturers to help bridge the gap between manufacturers being connected to the community and making products that the community wants. So those are things that I'm very interested in. Marketing, because you brought it up, that's always a challenge because the world is changing so fast and we have to keep up with it. There's new social media platform changes almost on a weekly basis. But these are all really fun challenges though, and I love it, and I plan to make some ripple effects in the pen community as time goes on, and I find a lot of satisfaction in that challenge. All right, last question that I have for this week is from Lucy Honeychurch on Twitter. If I remember correctly, you didn't have a Black Friday sale before this year. Would you like to talk about why you changed this? This is cool, and I'm not afraid to lean into this question a little bit. I've been talking a lot, so I just had a phone interview before this Q&A too, so I've been talking continuously for 2 straight hours. Anyway, so Black Friday, why are we doing sales now? We actually have done sales in the past. We've kind of eased into it a little bit over the last several years. But yes, this year definitely we leaned the heaviest into it and have probably, for lack of a better term, done it more effectively or communicated it more effectively what we're doing, more intentionally. That's the better word. We've done it more intentionally this year than ever before. So it's definitely the most we've ever leaned into it. in the past, I'll be completely honest with you. I'll be very open and candid about all this. And it's not all about me. I got a whole team, and we all planned for it this year. But in the past, just coming from me and my heart, where I was coming from, I was actually almost kind of a little bit selfish and prideful in terms of wanting to do all content organic, not paying for any advertising. I didn't want to do any sales. I very much respected kind of more of the Apple model, which is like, we're going to make, a limited selection of great products, and we're going to keep the pricing constant, and if people want them, they're going to be able to come and always know what they're going to get and always get a certain level of service and this type of thing. I was kind of inspired by that, and not be constantly kind of like tugging and pulling and manipulating with sales here, sales there, because things get really complicated. Some of that, I always look at it as like sales versus branding, right? So like branding is things like this. I can't tell you what the monetary value is as a business person. I can't tell you what the monetary value is of me sitting here for an hour and talking into a camera generally about how I run this business. But if I was to run a Facebook ad targeting a sale to a certain demographic, I can pretty much calculate exactly what that ad was worth. But I frankly just don't view myself as very talented at sales. I've done like direct sales and stuff like that before. I worked on commission as a Radio Shack salesperson back when I was in high school, and I did it okay, but I was always just not super comfortable and not super motivated by doing that. I'm much more interested in like the larger scale branding kind of stuff than sales. I think you need both. They're both important, but that's just kind of more where I've gravitated to. So I was always kind of prideful about not running sales and not paying for advertising and doing these types of things. Maybe it was because I wanted to almost kind of keep myself in check and not fall into a place where I was trying to manipulate or trying to, just be all about the money. Of course, it takes money to run a business, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I so wanted to distance myself from the temptation to be all about the money, especially in those early days that I wanted to just completely swing the pendulum the other way and never even consider it. And in that, I almost put up a kind of a prideful, front on that, so that I wouldn't even be tempted to try any of that stuff. Now I've gotten a little older, a little wiser, a little more mature about that kind of thing. So I know now like where my heart is. I know my heart's in a good place, and I think, yes, I don't need such a hard boundary between doing sales and doing the branding stuff, because I feel like I have a good intention, and Rachel and I have a good intention, and my team, we've got good intentions. So if we run a sale and it comes across a little askew, we know where our intention is, and we can make it right, or we can course correct, or if we go too far with something, we can reel it back. And I feel like we can navigate that, as opposed to saying we will never pay for advertising. That's like a core value, and it was never a core value of ours. It was just something that I did for the time. So I think I overcorrected, especially in the early days there. And part of it too was like there was just so much going on in the beginning, and I was so naive about what it took to build a business. Part of it was intentionally. I was almost very aware of how naive I was in the early days, where I knew that I didn't know a lot. And it was the same with parenting. Like I knew that I was pretty ignorant about what all it would take. I'd never changed a diaper in my life until my son was born and I was in the hospital. I think I changed one diaper on a doll at like a newborn class that we took or something like that. But I'd never changed my diaper on a living, breathing human until my son was born. We were in the hospital, and Rachel's sitting there recovering from childbirth, and I'm like, all right, this is on me. I got to figure it out, But I kind of like that approach of like, I got to dive in and figure it out, and there is no exit strategy. I just got to get through this and do this. So I kind of took that approach with the business. And I think for me, a little bit was just like, I can't do everything. I can't be a master of Google and Facebook ads and then also do the branding thing and then also do this and also be a product expert and be a leader and all these other things. So I just like had to cut off portions of it. And it was like, all right, we're just not going to lean heavy into the holiday sales thing, because there was so much in terms of the leadership and the building of the business and relationships with our brands and managing our inventory and stuff like that we just weren't sophisticated enough, especially in the early days, to be able to run huge sales and have huge spikes going. And then it would just made things really confusing as to why things are selling really well and what's not and who is and this, It makes things a lot more complicated. So until you have somewhat more sophisticated systems in place, or you just have a better understanding of kind of what's going on, when you run all these crazy sales, if you don't know why things sold well, or if you run crazy sales and you don't manage your inventory well and you sell out of stock and then people get mad, things just get really chaotic. So we wanted to really kind of ease into it. And I think really it's just over the last couple of years, we've got better leadership in place. We've got better training in place among our leadership and our team members. We are all a little more experienced as a team. So we are going into things like holiday seasons where things naturally get a little busier and crazier anyway. And we're able to say, okay, I think we've got room to try some interesting things here and make some exciting things happen for the pen community. Trying not to like fire sale certain things and cause, upsets within certain brands and stuff like that. That's the thing we always want to watch out for, and that's where the intent and the heart comes in. But making sure that we always have our hearts in the right place. For us, it's not all about the money. It's not, I think I can eke out a couple extra percentages on my EBITDA over here. It's really more about, okay, we have these pens over here. I think if we stocked up on these pens and we get the okay from the manufacturer to do a sale, this could be really exciting for the pen community. It could pair nicely with this thing over here, and it could make for a really exciting holiday season. Maybe people could, buy an extra pen or an extra thing for somebody that they know, and then that could help further the pen community. That's more the heart and the intention behind doing these types of sales and stuff like that. So, this year we had better foresight, better planning, and a team that had their hands more around what it was that we were doing. So we were able to strike with what we felt was really healthy balance between, some of the exciting sales and deals and stuff like that, and our ability to support during those sales. Promote products for our brands that were supported, and maybe clear out some of our overstock and things like that to keep our company healthy in general, and then of course giving you all good deals in the meantime. So we wanted to be very well rounded, have it be kind of a win for everybody. It felt like it was time to lean into it a little bit more. We didn't go completely nuts, but we did do a bunch of interesting things, especially based on some of the customer expectations and encouragement that we got too. I will say, especially this year, and as we're still kind of like analyzing what happened from the Black Friday weekend, which now it's not even just Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Before it was just Black Friday, and then Cyber Monday became more of a thing, and then it became like Cyber Weekend, which was really like all 4 days. Now it's called BFCM, which is like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and I know other retailers out there who are like, making it like a whole week leading up to Black Friday and then the whole week after, and so it's like the whole thing is getting very blurry in terms of what that time frame actually is. But I can say, of course, everybody just kind of gets into the shopping mode around that time. So we're trying to just be more intentional around that time to serve what the general public is expecting around that time too, in terms of how we can serve. Because really, we're all here for you and responding to you. So the most important thing to realize, I'm trying to get across in all, is that our heart behind it all, we really just want to serve you well, and we serve our team well, and keep our company healthy and our brands strong. And if we can do that, through running some sales during some key times, then it's something that we're gonna try. So that's it for this week. My question of the week for you kind of alludes back to a question I had a couple questions ago. Is what do you consider yourself to be in your pen journey? Do you consider yourself to be more of a beginner, an intermediate, or advanced? I'd be very curious to know what you think, and we can read up on your comments and encourage you and maybe give you some guidance too, especially as to where you would like to go in your pen journey. And then the writing prompt for this week is just write a thank you card to someone you know. As we're into the holiday season here, happy Hanukkah to anyone who's practicing there. We're in the Advent season now too. And then, obviously as people are writing, holiday cards and sending them out, Christmas cards, whatever it might be, this is just a time where gratitude is kind of abound. So I just would like to prompt you to write a thank you card to somebody you know. It doesn't have to mail it. You could be to your son or daughter or spouse or someone who lives in your house. So just go ahead and write a thank you card to somebody you know. That's it for this week. I hope you have enjoyed this. I mentioned a lot of products at the beginning, so you can check them out. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like, comment, just engage with us because we really love it. This is a great time of year, very fun. I know a lot of you are very busy, and I appreciate that you sitting down with me. And if you're at the end of this video, I can really say that you all are the ones that I really do this for. Okay, everybody who starts at the beginning of the video, they may kind of trail off a little bit, but if you're sticking with me to the end, you are the hardcore dedicated ones. And I really appreciate it. It's an honor for me to get to be able to do this with you every week, and I just absolutely love it. I'm glad to be able to do it, and I hope you have a great weekend and a great rest of your week. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.